even think that HLE have that advantage of having shown less so far.
Yeah, and when it comes to, showing what's strong and what's not, I think that, for me, it's really about, can you craft a good composition when a lot of stuff is banned away by Fearless? Because, you can bring out the best composition and all your best picks for game one, but then you kind of waste all of those, and then you don't have those pieces for later. It is a very deep strategy game that we are playing here in the drafting by itself.
Do see the Cassante and Poppy gone here. The Rumble, not a surprise here in game one either. Skarner, Kalista, the fixed bans. We'll see what that third and final ban here for GENG will end up being. We'll set the tone, I think, in the series quite a bit. We could see Ambessa, the Jace, very commonly first picked. Now will be taken away, and Zeka's just going to go straight to Yone.
Even before the start of the LCK Cup, I think everyone knew Yone was going to be a huge pick for this team. The fact you have two solo laners so good on it, and has continued to be so. GENG looking at picking up the Ambessa, and especially if you look at how the bans have gone so far, I feel like the big four of top lane are Cassante, Rumble, and Jace. With three of those out the way, the Ambessa priority really rises up.
I really like Ruler picking up this Ezreal early, though, because Viper has been fantastic on the pick. It's a pick they both share, and in Fearless, you only get one chance to play it. And it's also a very safe pick. Ruler has been caught a lot, let's be honest, this tournament so far. It's a pick that gives him the ability to both play make, but also be very safe.
Yeah, I think if they do end up going for... Actually, look at the Nidalee. So something, the Skarner, Kalista, Nidalee was like banned in 3 games on red side the last time these two teams played together. So the Nidalee getting that pickup early for Canyon, who's phenomenal on it, but also denying it from Peanut, who had it in that game 5 the last time these two teams matched up and won with it. Really big. We do see the Sejuani come out, which pairs very well with that Yone, but the Ambessa not going to look in yet. Instead, opting for the Kai'Sa and really solidifying that dive-focused composition against GENG's 2 quite poke-heavy champs they have already.
Yeah, I think it would be quite a risk to grab a support here, considering, the lane swap meta that we are in. And it's not necessarily going to be a strong draft in the early game for GENG to try to scout that out. We'll see what this is going to be. They are looking for the Leona, because Leona was the pick that stood out to me. If you're going to get it, it has to be Leona right here. It's been a phenomenal pick with Ezreal and makes dives a little bit more difficult to pull off. Nidalee, not the best anti-dive jungler because she doesn't offer CC, whereas the Leona will do wonders for you to grab some extra turret shots there in a potential dive defense if we do end up in that 2v2.
Yeah, I think really important as well to make sure the team has set up. GENG starting to ban away supports, having picked up the Leona, and especially engaged supports that pair well with a Kai'Sa. We saw, though, GENG, capable of playing a lot of champions in the solo lanes to set up. We've seen Chovy have like a fantastic set performance, and really compositions like that where you have like set up in all 3 lanes, it just allows the Nidalee to run rampant wherever she wants.
All right, Jack's taken off the board here. Targeting Delight a little bit with that Rel ban, which works incredibly well with Yone, as we all know. So we'll see what comes in this final spot here. Delight obviously known for playing hard engage supports, and Rel being one of his favorite. I don't think Rakan necessarily fits the bill here, especially into the Leona, but they will ban it just the same. And might not be spending too much time into the Leona in the early laning phase anyways.
Yeah, I would think... I mean, the Ambessa still not had a look in, despite being hovered early on. And GENG have first priority on this 4th pick if they want. So it wouldn't surprise me too much, but they actually end up going for the Renekton. Renekton and Nidalee, obviously a really strong combination together. And now GENG, I guess they can save top counter pick for Keen, but the Ambessa is still open. I think, as I said, out of the big 4, it's the one left available. I think it makes sense for Keen to pick it up.
It's just so flexible. It can duel with the Yone in the front line very well, but also has backline access. Depending on, what top pick we're going to see here for Zeus. Could also be the Yone that he does play here in the top lane. There's still some flexibility here, but you will have to reveal that, of course. And that's one of the trade-offs of getting this, pick here now, is that you won't be able to flip later on. Let's see what the lock-in is going to be here. Looking like a Camille potentially into this Ambessa. So the Yone going mid now, as Camille mid's not really a thing. And we'll get that support pick for Delight now. Into the Leona. Looking for the Alistar.
Yeah, I think Alistar does pretty well into Leona. Very tanky, can shake off her stuns if needed with the ultimate and knock her away. But also, the Camille we've seen often picked into the Ambessa can outscale in the late game. But also just really solidifies this theme for HLE's composition. It is all dive with this comp. Very in theme with the other picks. And if we're talking anti-dive picks, the Mordekaiser coming in, really effective. If like Kai'Sa ults in or Camille goes in, Mordekaiser can just press ultimate on them and deny them. And also, they move the Ambassador to mid. Chovy, no stranger to playing typically top lane picks in the mid lane. Obviously, we've seen a decent amount of Ambassador mid, but I'm sure he's pretty confident. And it means that mid jungle, Ambassador and Italy, both mobile, but also different damage types. I think it gives a bit more strength there.
Yeah, and you pick the Ambessa first. I think you don't want to play that into the Camille. You gave Hummel Life the counter pick for the top lane, so you want to match it up with the Yone, and that allows you to pick something that, you know, this is part of why Red Set, I think, does have a lot of value, but maybe our teams aren't always utilizing it, is that you can pick that R5 that's perfect. And it doesn't have to be something that's super popular. You can save that super popular pick for later, because if you pick Mordekaiser, that probably wasn't going to be picked anyway by anyone, so...
The best target to dive is going to be the Ezreal, but the Ezreal is already so mobile and can get into the backline. They have a ton of peel. They have the Mordekaiser here as well. I really do prefer this draft here for GENG. I feel like it's very safe. It's a lot more well-rounded, has a mixed damage profile, much more than what is basically a melee comp on the side of Hanwha Life Esports. The Kai'Sa is going to offer some magic damage, but not a whole lot.
Well, we're getting ready to jump onto the rift here. We do have our drafts ready to go. Hanwha Life Esports versus GENG, game number 1. Game number 1 of the LCK Cup Finals begins now. Our first one ever with our new format this year. And of course, we get these two teams back in the mix. We do have some different players here compared to 2024 Finals. Obviously, it was Dorn instead of Zeus for the side of Hanwha Life Esports in the top lane, but also the bottom lane of GENG has totally changed as Ruler and Duro do enter the mix here for GENG.
I feel like the early game is going to be really important in this one. The fact that you have this Nidalee, who obviously you want to leverage those early advantages, but also just like in the 5v5, HLE have so much dive. I think if the game is even with GENG's like, you know, peel tools like the Mordekaiser, I think they might struggle. But the expectation for GENG, leverage the Nidalee, leverage the setup that you have from like the Leona, get ahead, as we saw them do very effectively against D+. And then if they're ahead, I think HLE will struggle so hard to dive into them.
It's kind of that boring GENG style that they've come to be known for even since like 2021, back on that BDD roster, where you just kind of get your early win cons and then sit back and then start getting macro advantages and kind of choke your opponent out. It's like playing control into aggro, you know, like for GENG, they obviously have their own forms of aggro, they have their own forms of engage and dive here, but they also have a decent amount of poke, and their composition scales so incredibly well. If the Camille finds herself behind, worst case scenario, even going even in this game, it becomes so much tougher to play out. And already Canyon going to be vertically jungling here. It does have an insanely fast clear speed, and it's a free lane down here on the bottom side for Ruler.
Yeah, just lane swapping, and you know, we'll see where these supports do want to go. A lot of these early games have been defined by how well our jungles and supports can kind of mix up and match together and go in the right direction, get vision, you know, make plays together. And, you know, we criticize a little bit, you know, Canyon and Duro not necessarily having that as a nice little opportunity here for Canyon. He's got red buff, so he really wants to put the hurt into Zeus with as many spears, as many autos as possible. And Zeus now might have to just back, as he is very low.
So this is the key difference, is that we actually saw Duro reset before Delight did, move in, and we also had Keen to... Oh, that's big!
He took a turret shot. The flash on in, Viper! He elects to flash away as Duro's already here. Even the W goes wide. Viper just dropping the ball. And GENG will immediately capitalize on that.
Okay, let's go back to what you were saying, Ox.
Yeah, I mean, Duro reset earlier than Delight did. Keen also took a safer route. Zeus gets denied from bot lane by the poke from Canyon, who just shuts him out. And then Viper just doesn't expect the fast. You know, I feel like in those situations when teams are mirrored, you look at your own support. Okay, Delight just recalled. How long is it going to take for him to get bot lane? But Duro was faster, and that was a difference maker.
And the whole thing I was going to set up here is, you know, when a Camille gets neutralized and we have lane swaps and they're both soaking mid XP, the Camille doesn't get a lot of money. Obviously, we'll get some experience. But if you're a Mordekaiser who's behind and the enemy team's playing dive, you're like, cool, as Chovy may be in trouble.
Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble. They read this perfectly. Is Delight even waiting for him him to flash away. Oh, he gets headbutt over the wall. Might not matter for these two Dash champions in Sejuani and Yone, and that immediately is Hanwha Life Esports clapping back. They're still behind, but a very nice set play here from Hanwha Life.
My concern is that the kill goes to Peanut, which is still going to be relevant on the Sejuani. Speaking of Sejuani, Canyon is not done with the pressure. He's got red buff advantage here.
Yeah, I mean, this is why Canyon is the Nidalee guy. This is why he's using his skin, right? He's just so fantastic at putting on pressure and being very annoying on this pick. Now, Viper, he wants revenge. I don't think he can actually get this pick, but maybe with another passive and Q, not quite going to have the cooldowns nor the proximity to take him down.
This is a play-by-plays game, guys. This is not an analyst game.
Who wants to join me? Who's the flex guy today?
I just wanted to make the point earlier that I really like the game state here for GENG because the Mordekaiser is so difficult to dive, and Hanwha Life are playing a dive composition, and their Camille is the one that's set behind. Can be very tricky to play out. Neutralizing the Camille early in a lane swap is the name of the game here. Ideally, like Ruler's like, thanks for the lane swap. You got a solo kill top lane onto Viper. Well, not really a solo kill, but practically one set up there by Duro. And things are very disastrous. We'll take another look at that now as Viper's just way too close here, gets pulled in. He would have been in danger anyways with Duro coming up, but the fact that the pull comes through just really seals his fate.
The timing couldn't be worse as well, because he just queued and got aggro because of it. On top of that, and took the tower hit. Really just couldn't be worse to start not only the game, but the series in a manner like that. But it's a good move from Delight here to come behind Chovy. And you can see Duro and Canyon were moving to support their mid laner, but just a little bit late. And I love that, like, we've had two kills back to back, whereas like the timings were the critical factor in them.
Yeah, really liked Delight's positioning on that one. Just reading the flash ahead of time. He's standing ahead of where Chovy could flash to, and now just a little bit of brawling in mid, but
yeah, he's a big cow. It's hard to flash over him and get away.
And that Q's got a decent radius as well, so if you're flashing anywhere near him, it's going to be over for you. As the Grubs are about to spawn, we don't have Gideon in the tournament anymore, but still our teams do love the Grubs and are going to look to fight over these. And I think Hanwha Life Esports in a better spot at the moment.
Yeah, Hanwha Life definitely wanting to fight for this. They have mid prio right now. Zeus roamed all the way up to the mid lane to help control that. And it looks like they are going to give this over GENG and just continue to farm. I like this call because you do not want to give this incredibly strong mid-game composition power before your Ezreal gets close to those two items. Just sit back and scale, play that boring GENG style, try to get incremental advantages elsewhere, and don't throw the game on Grubs, please.
I will say, I feel like one of the mistakes was Zeus. I mean, obviously moving up to help secure Prio was good, but he had TP anyway. They were always going to have a numbers advantage. I'm not sure it's necessary, and it allows Keen to get a plate there. And I think Zeus missed a bit of CS, so, it's a 600 goal lead between top laners. I obviously understand wanting to set up for the Grubs. Maybe a little bit too much effort put towards it is making the top lane matchup even worse.
And I feel like, getting the Grubs always going to be valuable, but you really need to get ahead with your Camille if you are going to utilize it to a big way. Your Camille, your Yone are going to be your side laners, but currently they're both behind, as we can see. So we'll see how much value those Grubs have as the game comes along. As Chovy certainly thinking about going in on that one with Keen nearby, but big rotation down here from Hanwha Life Esports, not going to commit to the play. And GENG were able to get the Mountain Drake, of course, so Canyon just kind of power farming, doing what Nidalee does, and he's trying to be everywhere, all present at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they just have so much control right now. Zeka back, doesn't have teleport from that trade from Chovy earlier on. Canyon.
Yeah, he's gonna at least be able to dodge that one with a flash, but now put in the death chamber here is Zeus, but he's gonna go all the way to the edge. Here comes Duro, though. Zeus in a bit of trouble. Can he hook shot away from this one? He is going to be blocked, and Duro will take him down for a second kill for GENG.
And you can see the plan from HLE was they spotted Canyon on a ward, try and chase him down, but Nidalee just so slippery. The ult doesn't connect from Peanut, and then, the consequence of what's happened in the top lane, Keen having that advantage, rears its head. He ults Zeus, and Zeus, there's nothing he can do. He tries to run away, but you're locked into the death realm, and his team cannot do anything to help him out.
Yeah, and this is also at a timing where Zeka was just forced out of lane. Doesn't have teleport, can't join the skirmish. I think a bit overzealous for Hanwha Life, but their composition needs to brawl, needs to fight, needs to find these skirmishes early to come online and start to get these big advantages. But in failed skirmishes like this one, the gap in the top lane gets wider and wider. Watch this one more time. There is a ward for GENG here. So Canyon coming over, reacts so quickly to that ult coming out from Peanut Flash. If he gets hit there, this could look very different. And also Duro roaming on the play. Duro's been so good at being in sync with Canyon in these last 2 best of 5s. There's no way out for Zeus.
Yeah, the collapse from the rest of the team really just securing his fate in that one. And it's kind of this situation where HLE were like, oh, we can catch Canyon, you know, we have the Camille. If the Camille gets there, 100% dead. But just not moving fast enough. And it kind of feels like overall in this early game, GENG have been faster at setting things up, at making their advantages happen.
Yeah, so GENG going to enjoy a very nice lead in this early game. The only thing that HLE Esports really got were the grubs. And you can see that there is a huge amount of vision control down on the bottom side of the map now, where it looks like HLE Esports do want to attack. They've got 3 people down here, their bottom lane and their top laner, all trying to pressure this turret.
But it's Mordekaiser with Flash. His ult's not up yet, though.
Yeah, I mean, trying to dive this guy. We'll see how it goes as Keen just getting bullied by 4 people.
7 seconds on the ult. He was so close.
It was a tight window.
Perfect, yeah.
It was a tight window. Well executed by HLE. Any later, that play doesn't work. So they managed to pull it off. We're looking to get some plates on the bot side for Viper. And GENG don't really have a response to this play as of now, other than setting up control for the next set of grubs, which undoubtedly they want to try and deny at least some of those from HLE.
Keen does have his teleport back. He's going to utilize it to come back here to lane.
And you can't dive again. He's got ult.
Yeah, he has his ult this time, but they might just CC him to death. Oh, the death realm comes out right at the last moment, and now it's Peanut who's in trouble as Viper. He wants a kill, but look at that giant chunk of damage from the turret. Keen lives. That dive was not going to go well from the beginning.
It's the same thing we were talking about. He had his ult in the moment that happened just before where he was successfully dove. They wouldn't have been able to do it. He shows back up with it, so perhaps they weren't tracking his ult super well there. They almost burst him down. Like, it's so incredibly close, but man, diving a Mordekaiser like that is so high risk, and now you're giving over grubs for free as well.
The thing is, they just don't have that much damage. It's Alistair and Sejuani who aren't pumping tons of damage. Yes, they have the CC to hold them in place, but Viper doesn't even have 1 item yet. Just too hard to cut through that entire health bar in time, and now they're only going to give another kill over to Keen, but Canyon's able to pick up 3 grubs for himself and equalize that earlier. Dragon's still a minute to go, so GENG can possibly set up to contest that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you could see the kill that was picked up from Viper earlier on is really the only thing that puts him in a lead, but otherwise you're really just behind in all senses. It's a pretty dead giveaway that Keen backs away from the turret.
Oh, we're doing it again. Okay. We're just bullying Mordekaiser. This is not very fair for Keen. I mean, he got his revenge, though, so that's nice, but this time will be taken out. Delight gonna go into the ult even as Duro trying to get close to the turret. Kind of an awkward spot here for Hamba as even Ruler is pathing down, but not going to overstay their welcome. You know, really wanted that control ward. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, so they get a kill for Viper. That's pretty nice. Obviously, banking on the fact they knew his ult was down because they just burned it in that previous dive. Very certain he doesn't have it this time. But because of the low health bars, because of the dive, it does mean GENG have control over the dragon area and should be picking up this second dragon pretty comfortably. And it's Infernal Mountain on the first 2, so no guarantee it's going to be a strong soul, but definitely a decent investment.
It could be Hextech, you know, and that would be massive for Ruler just setting up some chain slows. Same with the poke from the Nidalee, very frustrating to play into. Either way, these are going to be very valuable individual dragons worth of stats for this team to pick up early. So I really like the situation here for GENG. Sure, you dove Keen, you got him on that second try there, but ultimately a lot of resources committed here. This time he has ult.
I think they're going to dive. I got my ult. I got him.
So calm and casual with it.
Classic Keen. And then here, obviously, because he used his ult moments before, didn't have it. On the play previously, I was going to mention that based on the fact that he walked away from turret, I think they were able to track that, hey, this guy doesn't have ult, otherwise he'd just be staying under the turret, and they were able to chase him away and kill him there. So they do kill him twice, but they have to commit so much to do so. Yeah,
nice play from Delight there, holding the headbutt till after the flash. He's been pretty sharp on his Alistair, to no surprise to anyone. It does mean we get feats of strength for GENG. Is an Ocean Soul, though, which I think you're kind of a little bit underwhelmed with because, I mean, you already have Nidalee for a decent amount of sustain, and with HLE's composition, it's very much burst, dive, kill quickly, not the sort of composition where, like, oh, they sustain a bit over X seconds is that much of a problem for this comp. So Didn't high roll with the Dragon Soul, but still, GENG get a feat of strength and are about 1,000 gold ahead in this game.
Yeah, Riftmaker's done for Keen. The Leandri's is done for power farming Nidalee. So Canyon is online here. In the mid game, I feel like now that we're starting to approach it, becomes a little bit trickier for Hanwha Life. I think there are some windows into some fights here, like when Herald spawns in 2 minutes, if they can set the right Yone ult, they can have a nice Alistar engage, or he's able to absorb some pressure. Maybe they lock down the Israel with an ult coming through from Zeus, but there's a lot of ifs, there's a lot of maybes, and the fact that at this stage of the game, we're already talking about the challenges they're going to face, I'm a little bit worried.
I think one of the things is that, you know, the Camille is such reliable.
We do have Viper nearby on this one. It is a 3v2 technically. Delight trying to set this up. He really wants to just get in range of the Leona, and he will be able to. In comes the Killer Instinct, and he is just dead. Not much hope for Duro there, who got himself in a rough spot, just trying to place some vision. As now the ult comes in from Toby. This is a 3v1. Maybe just assuming they left? I don't know. That was kind of strange. Toby gonna have to flash away.
He just wanted to see if he could hit it, you know?
He did. That was cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it does keep them a little bit occupied there, but I guess, I don't know. I was thinking, I'm really trying to grasp at straws here for him. They are going to get the turret bottom side. They're TPing.
Yeah, they're diving this Chovy, who is alone, the TP of their own, coming on in. Chovy's already so low, and he will be taken down. Keen able to go to the Death Realm here against Zeka, who is just fighting him, just dashing and mashing around. He will be fine until the very end, where Ruler will take him down. Zeus wanted more, but now red buff here for Ruler. He's going in with his E. There's the Solar Flare. Gonna force a flash here out of Zeus. Hanwha Life Esports did not want any more from that fight.
That was such an interesting interaction.
Oh,
wait.
There's vision here now, as you're trying to engage onto an Ezreal. Not an easy task, as the stun with the auto doesn't come in from Delight. Will it be enough is the question. The passive, one more hit will do it. Viper gonna get the kill, and now we got Duro on the run. Hanwha Life Esports are just snowballing into more and more kills, more and more money. As Chovy TP's in, he's gonna be a free kill, and GENG just fall over like a house of cards.
I mean, this is, I have a term for this, you know, we talk about this in any esports, trickling, going in one by one, hoping you're going to be the one to make the power play, and this wasn't it. You know, Chovy committing his ultimate earlier means he can't defend this turret, and the racing for turret doesn't matter because it goes over to Mordekaiser anyways, but now he can't defend this dive. When the teleport comes through, Chovy's already dead. Ruler shows up here, but you're always fighting down members here as GENG, and then obviously, moments later, the critical thing is that they get caught. Ruler overextends, which has been a trend here in LCK Cup. But I feel like GENG doubled and tripled down on some really tough fights at the point in time where Hanwha Life Esports are arguably at their strongest, and now they're back in the game.
Yeah, and I feel like for GENG, you know, they have these poke elements, they have these mobile carries, they have like the Mordekaiser to shut down like a Camille engage, but in these smaller skirmishes that get messy and you don't have those tools available, it just ends up backfiring massively. You know, Zeus gets the value on the Ezreal, and then here this TP from Chovy definitely backfires in that. Looking for a bit more.
Here we go again. They just keep going in for it, and now it's GENG caught out again. He does not have his ult for 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1. Can he get it up? Will he even commit? As I think he tried to cast it, but it just didn't go off. Either way, he's just dead anyway.
Yeah, there was also this interesting interaction earlier in the previous fight where, you know, Keen ulted Zeka when his soul was unbound outside the Death Realm, and he just stayed unbound for such a long time, which, you know, I guess kind of backfired in the situation, but it's now a huge lead for HLE, and again, it's an Ocean Soul, which I don't think is a great win con for GENG, so everything's kind of just fallen over on the back of those plays.
You know, the main thing that Coach Kim said, what was leading to them actually being able to defeat DK, and something they're focusing on big, is trying to cut down on mistakes. They were in the lead. They had control of this game. GENG should have been going into the mid game with a lead. Instead, now they just tripled and quadrupled down.
I think if you want to cut down on mistakes from game 1, I don't think you'll struggle for GENG.
Well, I mean, they're still looking to control this dragon here, which will be sole point.
Oh, well, we'll see how it goes. Peanut with the steal, just gonna take one down as Duro being bounced around, but that is a Leona. A lot of damage going to the tank. They don't seem to care, though, as Duro is going to survive, but gets bounced back in just to die as a sacrificial lamb, as only Keen will get the 1 kill. But Viper just able to do whatever he wants, and the chase down from Hanwha's comp is big. Ruler, full health, though. Gotta be careful. Overextending. They don't have Viper. They don't have Zeus, as this game is getting down and dirty. And Ruler and Canyon should be able to pick up a bunch more gold to take it back.
Now, GENG made some big mistakes in the top lane, right? Double, triple, quadruple down, you mentioned it, but they had such a lead early and the comp scales so well that they feel confident they could take this fight. And the main thing about having Prio on a dragon like this with an Ezreal is you can utilize the wall to buy space. Both Ezreal and Nidalee can get out of the thick of things here as Duro and Keen absorb so much pressure, but those Canyon and Ruler kite back. Ruler's able to get over the wall here, and you have a front line buying space. Ruler doesn't hit all of his shots, but he and Canyon ultimately hit enough. Canyon's got Leandri's. The health bars start burning down. Eventually, you get low enough, you overextend like this, and you're in big trouble. Ruler, again, he doesn't hit everything, but he hits enough, and Hanwha Life really over-indexed on the play. They could have just been happy with the Drake steal and get out, but they wanted to chase down. But against this composition that's so mobile, you eventually run out of steam.
And the thing is, they used so many cooldowns on the front line and didn't have anything left for this back line. But on top of that, you know, Keen pressed R on Viper, this super fed Kai'Sa, and that's all he had to do. He pressed R, soloed Viper. Yes, Viper, you know, he played it pretty well in the Death Realm, but there's only so much you can do against this wall of stats as your opponent. And as soon as that Kai'Sa is gone, I feel like she really offers so much in these fights, that consistent DPS, and they really just ran out of steam in that last fight.
Yeah, I think, you know, Zeus was the one that took that overstep over the wall. You know, he's Camille, they're snowballing, but maybe he didn't quite realize in the heat of things that they had lost their AD carry and that Ruler was full health. So certainly a bit of baseball in this one, you know, a throw and catch from both teams at this point. GENG was in the lead, and they threw it to Hanwha, who have now thrown it back. And now it's an even game. 20 minutes in, Otacon has spawned, and one of the best objectives to throw the game on, by the way, has been Otacon.
Yeah.
So speaking of throwing,
But I will say,
TP too.
they have a Mordekaiser, so securing it is super easy. You know, you just ult the Sejuani, and there's nothing. There's no steal chance here for Peanut. It's just gone.
yeah, it seems like they almost knew it was happening. Like, Peanut came in to check because they're just kind of ignoring it.
And now they are going to try to trade this for Inner, but Zeus isn't quite going to get this before Keen shows up with Otacon buff here. Will be pushed away. Got a decent amount of damage to it. They also hard pushed that mid Inner. Weren't able to get that either.
Now they're actually engaging here. Not sure about this one, as it's only 3 members. Viper not here just yet, but the lineup from the Yone is big, as Viper doesn't elect to go in on that one, though. Keep in mind, they still have Otacon buff on the side of GENG. HLE Esports wanted to collect some gold, and it's actually going to be GENG who collects some gold, although Toby goes in, gives his life away, and now Yone, Zeka looking for a bit more. He's unbound, not gonna get it, and GENG will maintain the lead for now.
I think this is one of the problems, though, because, you know, I was thinking, right, they have Otacon, Baron's not up for a while, they could just give up Drake. What can GENG get? Because they have all this poke, and HLE's composition is very focused on engaging and diving. Their only response is to engage and dive, which is just giving GENG what they want. They want to fight.
They want to fight right now specifically. And look at Ruler's positioning throughout this fight as well. He's just untouched, and Ezreal is so difficult to get on top of. He even is able to buffer the Yone ultimate here and get away, and he's just constantly layering damage, and the ult comes through. Now you've caught Delight. Now he's going to get in big trouble. He can't actually peel. He can't offer anything back, and then you're just sitting here going, man, I wish we just let the turret go. I wish we didn't take this fight. I wish we didn't opt for this, because Ruler's doing so much work, and on this Ezreal, he's been so bold, and when you have enough control, you have enough peel and frontline, you can make those aggressive calls, and he's doing it really well here. Once again, top damage across the board here on the Rift.
It also feels like a scenario where HLE, they wanted to stop them take the tower, so they did want to fight, but they also kind of didn't want to fight because Otacon was there, and they were kind of like, you know, we kind of want to fight if we win, but we're not winning, so it felt hesitant from them, and this is a composition where you can't be hesitant. I think, honestly, if they'd gone fully committed, Zeus was there, they'd procced all the Otacons, I think I would have been more favorable of it, but it felt like they were just testing the waters, and as a result, they still lost the turret, and lost that tier 2 mid as well on top of that.
I mean, there's a Nashor's Tooth here for Viper now, so he can finally offer some poke back, but it's just never going to be the same as a Nidalee that's this accelerated with Zhonya's online. Ruler obviously hit his 2-item spike a while ago, is looking for 3. And, you know, Chovy's 0-4, but he's got 2 items and plated steel caps into your AD comp, so I don't think he really cares too much about his death score right now. And they're looking for another fight here on Dragon.
And guess what? Humma wants to dive in, goes to life, finds Ruler in the back line, and this is what the Kai'Sa is so good at doing, at just assassinating this AD carry. And it really just comes all down to Delight finding that angle, as GENG really wanted to challenge them here on the Ocean Drake. Did not work out for them.
That was so slick, and Ruler was so dead. Viper even predicted him going over the wall with a Void Seeker, and he was actually a little early on it, and it didn't matter. Ruler still dies regardless. So HLE, that is the sort of engage you want with this composition. Commit, everyone's in, and Delight with a beautiful flash combo to find the enemy AD carry.
And it's a huge difference in prio between this Dragon and the previous Dragon fight, where Ruler was able to get over the wall, buy enough space, Zeus overextends. This time, Honor Life Esports are in engage rage, and Ruler, fortunately, this time just a little bit too close. No wall he could really get behind. No way he could be free. Viper follows him there, and he is taken down. Fantastic engage from Delight. Once that AD carry is gone, you have some damage here as an Italy, but your comp is just going to fall apart.
I also love that they put the CC down to the Mordekaiser as well, so he was limited in his ability to peel away. Like Sejuani ult hitting him, and then Viper could ult way past him. And there was just nothing you could do, because if you ever ult in and Mordekaiser immediately ults you, the fight is in such a bad spot.
Absolutely. Look at this gold graph. I mean, it has certainly been baseball, as you put it, Valdez.
It's been a fun ride, a bit of a roller coaster. You know, this is not necessarily what we've expected at the LCK, but it feels like a bit of personal beef between these two teams, perhaps. As, you know, Honor Life Esports does not have any breaks, and neither does GENG. For some reason, you know, they're the comp that I think has to have a little bit more of the breaks, a bit more patience, but it feels like both teams have really been caught into, we're just going to brawl all the time.
And when you look at where the gold is now for Hanwha, hold up.
Speaking of which, yeah. Ult comes in here. Zeka going to ult to try to get in range as well. Chovy in a bit of trouble as the melee champ is going to lock down that permafrost, and down goes Chovy. Couldn't even get away on Ambessa.
No, I mean, when you look at the gold here on Viper, the gold on Zeka, you know that this comp is finally hitting its identity, right? It's actually finally doing what it was supposed to do. They fell behind early, and it looked kind of doomed. GENG obviously threw that top side skirmish, but then when we went to the Dragon, they got back control. But ever since Honor Life have been able to get enough control over the map to actually look for picks and to force their issues in side lanes, his comp is working as intended, pulling back a gold lead, pulling back map control. I thought they might never get back, but it's small moments like this. Peanut's got vision control here. Chovy's overextended, where you get even more control. Look at where Ruler is on the map right now as well. Super far back. They just don't have a lot of vision on the bottom side of the map, so he has to play safe.
And the thing is, with a play like this, having your jungler gank other side of the map from Baron can be risky, so the timing was flawless in a position where GENG couldn't start up the Baron, weren't in position, made sure they had mid-priority as well, so there was no recourse there. And I think with how brawly this game has been, the composition of HLE does so much better when the enemy team is down summoners when you're forcing them. Ruler's still down that flash, and I think the fact there have been so many fights has mean there's always been some summoners not available for GENG, which allows these things to happen. We think back to earlier when they were ganking Keen constantly when his ult was down. Playing around these timings is so big.
Yeah, now we do have some stasis available for this upcoming Baron fight. We have Arm Guard for Keen, Arm Guard for Viper. There's the Zonias that Canyon's had for a while now. Some really critical tools for what is going to be probably a game-deciding Baron fight, it seems like, with how this game is going. And controlling that vision is so important. You mentioned that, you know, I point out how far back Ruler was, but they got Dragon, or rather Baron vision for just a moment, and then it was taken away because they didn't really have control. So that was their cross map, was to get Baron vision temporarily. They will once again clear it here, look for a reset. Hanwha Life will continue to come up here and now clear, but Hanwha still maintain majority vision control on this map. Zeus has teleport coming back up. Look at this wave here, as well as Zeka's pushing through. They can threaten an inhibitor here if GENG are playing slow around Baron. And that's the side lane win cons you have with this Yone Camille composition. The Hanwha Life now ahead can really push their advantages with and put the you know, pedal to the metal basically in sides.
I think it's so frustrating as well because we've seen Chovy easier to punish in the side lane, and obviously Keen is a lot harder to punish, but with Keen being so far away from where the setup is, if an engage happens, people will die before he gets there, and he is like your greatest tool at shutting down the enemy's engage, because even though he's 3, 6, and 4, he can comfortably, at minimum, buy a ton of time from one of the carries of HLE, if not just out-duel them because of the extra stats that the Mordekaiser steals away. So him being distant kind of feels bad if these fights end up starting. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be a full fight. It can just be a pick. You know, Duro, yes, Celestial opposition, yes, he's a Leona. He will still go down pretty quickly if you have Zeka or Viper putting damage into him.
Yeah, I mean, with that control ward that's up in the bottom lane as well, if GENG end up, you know, fighting at neutral and then backing away and then trying to clear vision, you could just TP in and say that inhibitor's dead. You know, if you put that Camille and the Yone in there together, there is enough power and enough cryo there now, enough minions stacking up to deal with that. So GENG have to deal with that with the Mordekaiser like you're mentioning, who would have to TP in too slowly. At some point, though, Hanwha Life will have to pull the trigger on this Baron to pull GENG apart, because right now they're controlling sides, but they haven't pushed that advantage to start that purple worm just yet. They're going to look for the dragon first instead.
And you know, I said the Ocean Soul was a low roll for GENG, and absolutely was. But for HLE, you're playing into an Ezreal Nidalee with a lot of poke. That Ocean Soul is going to have a ton of value.
They're going to pull the trigger here on the Baron. The dragon's going to go down here for Hanwha Life Esports, but can they get here in time? TP coming in, but the damage is kind of insane. They are a bit locked in the pit, though, as this is happening. They try to ult into the backline here. Zeus is in a bit of trouble, but now he's got the peel. Goes in on a Toby. Toby the first one to go down. And yes, the Baron went to GENG, but they're losing this fight big time as Keen's going to go down eventually. We see Duro falls as well. Ruler desperately trying to get away, but the Void Seeker going to hit him. Might not be quite enough, though, as he barely scampers away from the Baron fight. So yeah, they got the objective, but they're too far behind Hanwha Life Esports, who were able to close the gap.
Yeah, now they're looking to put the pressure onto this mid inhibitor as well. At least the inhibitor turret. Ruler barely surviving there. Peanut hitting a fantastic ultimate onto the Ezreal there, nearly takes his head off. And this is the first inhibitor down against the enemy team that has Baron, as the team fight is a wash. And they made the split-second call to send Zeka into the fight. They could have just indexed into trying to push that bottom inhibitor, play it slow. They wanted to crush the fight. They got caught between the Dragon Call and the fast Baron there by GENG, but ultimately made the right decision and were able to take this fight.
And ultimately, when you're late to an objective against a Mordekaiser, you're not going to be able to steal it. And HLE just don't care. You know, this focus comes on Azaius, but he's able to buy time, still has the ult to keep alive. But everyone on GENG ends up in the pit. And Sheer Canyon and Ruler can get out, but the chase potential's still there. Keen is kind of locked in the situation, could have flashed, but they can chase over quite comfortably. It was a scenario where HLE was so confident approaching it that the fight was theirs. You know, they didn't need to rush in and try and get Peanut in the pit. They were like, we can just destroy them. And now there's not anything GENG can do with the Baron because,
Oh, very nice ult. Once again, Peanut's having the game of his life here tonight.
Back-to-back, he hit the one in the pit, which was arguably more skillful, but this one too, very surprising, very difficult to react to. Ruler is not able to avoid it. And, I mean, right now, Hanwha Life are saying, this is the beginning of the end of this game, pushing over into this bottom lane now as a 5-man, trying to get the second inhib.
Does that count as a Ruler spot? I do wonder. A little bit far down the lane, not quite the Ruler spot. Another engage here, pretty simple from Delight. And 5v4, and with this lead, it should be Hanwha Life just breaking down the front door and saying, thank you very much for letting me in, as here comes the second inhibitor to go down. And Hanwha Life Esports are on the doorstep of taking this game number 1. Jovi trying to run away. He's had a rough game here, 0-6, I believe, so far. And he'll have nothing to show for it at the end of this one. Down will go the Nexus. Eventually, when Hanwha Life Esports decided, as they will buffer their KDA just a little bit. And Hanwha Life Esports take down the first game of the series.
Yeah, a lot of confident plays when it came to those later team fights from the side of HLE. Once they got that advantage, they really ran away from it. I think GENG, a lot of mistakes they have to look back on. But with the context of the series, it is fearless, and HLE had side selection. They had blue side, and they also had a lot of big picks for them. Things like the Yone for Zeka, things like the Alistar for Delight, the Sejuani for Peanut. So definitely a pretty convincing win towards the end of that one for HLE, but a lot invested, I'd say, into the draft that they won't be able to rely on later.
I think for GENG, it's going to be a super disappointing loss. You had a great draft. You had fantastic control of the early game, and then you were able to take things back on that dragon fight as well, and it looked like there was going to be hope, but there's too many mistakes and too many confident setups against a team that was spiking so hard in that mid game, and Ruler just getting completely bullied. I thought the early game for Ruler was phenomenal, but later on, just caught too many times in too many critical moments.
Delight's Alistar, though, in that game was just crazy.
Insane.
The amount of flash combos. I feel like we haven't had as much Alistar in the LCK Cup as like we've had previously, but a stern reminder of what he can do with that champion.
Delight, Peanut, fantastic engages, and the carries were able to shut it down. That's game 1 to Hanwha Life Esports. We'll have the break and the space to break it down. We'll be right back.
다이브 박아주면 제일 좋아. 박아도 돼.
아 볼게.
아.
레오나 노플이고.
레오나 먼저 때릴게. 에이 감 좋다. 3보자.
야 레오나 볼.
레오나 풀.
미드라인.
미드라인.
이제 20초니까 천천히 해봐.
아. 바텀 말고.
바텀 라인 쓰면 돼.
네 조냐 있고. 괜찮아. 다음에 잡아. 사우치.
싸움 보자.
타워.
사우. 미드.
타워 칠게 그냥.
끝난다. 나이스.
나이스.
잘했다. 다음 판 잘하자.
가면 안 되냐?
끝낼게.